Ever feel like history is just, kind of like a roller coaster ride? Like we're just holding on tight, no idea where we'll end up.
Yeah, I get that.
Well, today we're ditching the roadmap. Going to try a different approach, more philosophical, you could say. Going to try to make sense of it all. And helping us with this is, well, his work at least, Michel Serres, this French philosopher. He wasn't afraid to think differently, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Michel Serres, he had a knack for seeing things in a way most people don't. Like, he didn't just stick to one field, He'd be all over the place. Science, history, literature, even politics.
He was connecting the dots, finding patterns.
Exactly. He wove them all together, these insights, and ended up challenging a lot of conventional thinking.
Which is what we're aiming for here, too. And we're diving into one of his, well, I guess you could call it a key work, Serres, Darwin, Bonaparte, le Samaritain. It's a collection of essays, but, and this is the key part, we're looking at them through a specific lens, one that really flips the script on how we see history.
Serres, he was captivated by those kind of fundamental forces, the ones that shape us, shape civilizations. He saw history not just as battles between countries, but as this battleground of these drives, the ones that have been with us since, well, forever.
So like a constant tug-of-war going on.
Right, like a tug-of-war between, say, life and death, energy and entropy, hard power and soft power, all pushing and pulling on us.
So we're talking about a real clash, this clash that's basically the engine of human history.
Exactly. And the way Serres saw it, this drive toward death, he calls it thanatocracy, it's been the dominant force, this deep-seated need to, well, dominate, conquer, to be the most powerful, even if it's through violence.
Thanatocracy, so the rule of death, basically. Like this undercurrent that's been there all along, shaping everything, from empires to, well, even today's wars.
You got it. And Serres, he doesn't shy away from the uncomfortable stuff. He throws out statistics like, for example, did you know the United States, we've spent 93% of our existence at war?
93%, that's, wow. I mean, it feels like we're always at war with someone.
It's more than just the big wars, though. Serres digs deeper, looks at how this death drive, this thanatocratic thing, how it pops up in ways you might not expect. Like he talks about these accompanying deaths.
Accompanying deaths? What's that?
So imagine this. In lots of cultures throughout history, when a powerful figure died, a king or a leader, someone important, people would sacrifice themselves too.
Like a wife or a servant or...
Yeah, even soldiers. It was their way of acknowledging death's power, respecting the dead, even like they had to maintain this balance, this order of life and death. Like it was crucial for their world to keep spinning.
So kind of like when they used to bury people with their servants or those sacrifices to appease the gods, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It wasn't just about mourning. It was about this deep-seated belief in death's power, how it holds sway over life itself.
It's kind of disturbing when you think about it like that. Like we've been dancing on the edge of a cliff for centuries.
And that's where Serres, he throws us a lifeline. He sees a shift happening, a move away from all that death-focused stuff towards, and this is key, soft power.
Soft power. So like instead of always reaching for the hammer, we're trying a different tool.
Yeah. Think collaboration, understanding, empathy, building bridges instead of, well, blowing them up.
Yeah, that's a good visual.
Yeah.
So how does this soft power actually show up, according to Serres?
Well, he sees it as a historical trend, how values and behavior change over time. Like war, think about how much it's declined. I mean, yeah, there are still conflicts, but nothing like what we used to see. And now we've got these international groups, the UN, trying to keep the peace.
I guess we do take the UN for granted sometimes, but you're right. It's a pretty recent thing in the grand scheme of things.
Absolutely. Serres even brings up this diplomat, Francois de Callière, he was writing back in the 1700s. And get this, he was already talking about negotiation, about diplomacy, in a way that, well, it foreshadowed what we do today. It's like those seeds of soft power were planted a long time ago.
Wow, it's always amazing to me how much history we don't know, all these hidden connections. But so, diplomacy, that's one side of this soft power coin. What else did Serres see?
He was really interested in the rise of medicine, how much effort we put into health and well-being. It goes against that whole survival of the fittest idea, We're not just focused on being the strongest anymore.
We're taking care of each other, even the most vulnerable.
Exactly. And it's not just medicine. We're moving away from capital punishment, focusing more on palliative care. It all points to a shift in values, from glorifying death to embracing compassion.
So we're evolving, not just physically, but maybe morally too.
Mm-hmm.
Starting to see the value in empathy, in working together.
That's a great way to put it. And it all ties into another key part of Serres' thinking, this idea of history as a landscape.
A landscape. Okay, now I'm picturing mountains, valleys, the whole shebang. What does that have to do with history?
So Serres, he sees history as this multidimensional landscape, always changing. And this landscape, it's shaped by all those forces we've been talking about. Life versus death, energy versus entropy, hard power versus soft power.
So it's not a straight line, more like, I don't know, a constantly shifting terrain.
Precisely. And just like a real landscape is made up of countless little things, Serres believes history is shaped by what individuals do, by our collective actions. He calls these little things circumstances. They might seem insignificant at the time, but they can have these huge ripple effects.
It's like those little domino effects. One thing leads to another.
Exactly. That's what Serres wants us to get. We all play a part. He doesn't give us like a map or anything, but he does leave us with this question, kind of makes you think. He asks, what happens if we're at the beginning of this new age where soft power takes over? What'll it take for us to really embrace it?
That's a big question. Feels like we're picking a path, and whichever one we choose, that's the way history goes. No pressure.
Right. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Serres, he was fascinated by this idea of entropy, and then there's nidge-entropy. So entropy, it's like this natural tendency for things to fall apart. Systems break down, things get messy. But then, on the flip side, there's nidge-entropy, this drive towards order, complexity towards growth even.
So it's a constant battle, like chaos versus order, or even, I don't know, creation versus destruction.
And the million-dollar question is, which one wins? What Serres is saying is that this battle is happening everywhere, not just in some big cosmic sense, but right here in our own lives and our relationships, the choices we make every single day.
So are we adding to the chaos, or are we building something better, something more, I don't know, utopian?
And that's the challenge, isn't it? What Serres wants us to do is be aware, to make choices that line up with the future we want, choosing compassion over, violence, cooperation, instead of always competing.
It's a powerful message, especially in the world today. I mean, things are complicated, right? But looking at it all through this lens, Serres' work, it helps us understand things a little bit better. And more than that, it reminds us that we have a choice. We can actually shape the future, make it more just, more sustainable, more hopeful even.
Because when it comes down to it, history isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we're all creating all the time together. And every choice we make plays a part in writing that story.
That's a great way to end this deep dive, I think. It makes you really think, what kind of story are we writing? What will our chapters say?